Hello, 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 everybody. Hello, Janice and Millie and Annabella, honeys. Hello, hello. How you been doing, honey? I'm sitting here putting on my face for work. Love you, Smiley. Love you, girl. Go make that money, honey. Go make that money. Hello, Dawn. Hello, Sherry Lynn. Hello, hello. I hope everybody is doing well today on this very freaking hot Saturday. I almost said Sunday. Hey, Retha Bell. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Listening in the back. Love you. Red and green hearts. Hello, hello. God, right now it is 89 degrees. I don't even want to know what it was today because I was out in this mess and it was so hot. WB, holla girl. Hello, hello. Welcome. Hope everybody is doing good. I got my water here. I am drinking water today, honey. That should tell y'all something. I just come in and did my shower, did a cold shower, and I ain't even dried my hair. I just can't. I'm not going back out, so I am not drying my hair. Hey, Lisa. Hello. Frosty cold by the Firebird morning. Are you serious right now? It's cold where you're at? Oh, my God. Honey, it is hotter than a well digger's butthole right here, right now. I'm just saying. Just saying. It is. It is so hot. So hot. Hello, everybody. Hello. Those coming in, those new, those that will watch on replay. Welcome to Smiley's World. Welcome in, everybody. And before we dive into this, it's raining there. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And if it rains now, it's just going to make it more hot here, Janice. Ugh. Terry Parker, hello. And Gypsy, hello. It's your hottest day also. I don't like it when it goes like this. I don't. It is too hot. Too hot. Too hot to try it for Smiley's World. I'm telling you. It's too hot. Yeah, before we dive in, we'll let more people come in. Hey, Little Red. Hello. Good to see you. Welcome in, everyone. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget. I'm looking for green eyes today. I'm doing this one for green eyes. Green eyes. Hello, hello, hello. This is a heavy and a heartbreaking story right here. Hey, YouTuber. Hello, hello, sweet YouTuber. Glad to see you. So what's been going on in y'all's world today? I really want to hear, whether it's good or bad or frustrating or funny. We are all family here. What y'all been doing today? Y'all pull up a seat, grab your coffee, your water, your tea, your sweet tea, honey. You are on Smiley's porch right now. Hey, beautiful Miss Grace. Hello, hello. Good to see you. If this weather is too hot to trot for Smiley's World over here, YouTuber. I was just saying how hot it is today, honey. It is hot. Hot, hot, hot. A little bit hot here and a little bit hot there. I said I had my water today with me. No coffee right now. It is just water. So it's terrible cleaning out the storage shed. Yeah, I was down on the beach earlier and I was out in that heat. Oh my goodness. Lord, have mercy. I feel for you, Miss Grace. I hope you got an air conditioner out there or a big fan or something. And you need to drink lots of water and Gatorade. It's hot. Yeah, it's no fun cleaning out all that stuff. Hey, Holly S. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. No AC or fan. Oh, honey. You need to make sure you stay cool. Don't get overheated, because this heat will get you quick. You need something. You need something out there, Miss Graves, because it's hot. Yeah, it is very hot. Take you a break every now and then and go in, you know, go in and cool off, and it's just so hot. So we're gonna talk about Josh Powell today and what happened. Um, it echoes through what's going on out there today with the three girls. Not exactly, but it's one of the saddest cases, pretty close to it. Green Eyes brought it up yesterday, and he is right. It's one of the saddest cases out there. It was before I got on YouTube, but I definitely remember, being at home, seeing it on TV. I don't know where y'all was at, if you remember where you was at, or you even remember this case. But we're going to talk about it. Hold on just a minute. My son's trying to sign into something. They don't never stop. Hold on. I didn't get a code. He wants me to look at something. I didn't get a code. Hold on. They always at the oddest times. Well, he's going to have to wait. I don't know what he's talking about. Hey, Kiki. Hello, Kiki. Welcome, welcome. And me and you and everybody, welcome. You're going to have to wait now. These kids don't ever do without their mommies. I don't care how old they are. But anyway, he's talking about a cup. Y'all know Smiley can't be chewing bubblegum and doing this, and he's trying to sign into something. He wants to use the free app, and honey, I can't be looking at that and looking at this and doing this and that and the other, because I don't even know. I lose my train of thought. I don't know. He's just going to have to wait. Oh, yeah. Hold on a minute. Yes, we did. Hold on. Okay, don't ask me nothing else. Oh, hold on. I'm on the wrong. No wonder I'm on the wrong phone. I'm sorry, y'all. It's always something in this house. Somebody needs me. Somebody always needs something. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hold on. Y'all know family comes first, though. Okay. Anyway, I can't talk when I'm doing that. Okay, so let's see. Kiki said, "Me too, Smiley. My kid's a dog, a cat, always in a and they always want to do that right when you start, right? He just left here a few minutes ago and got it all straightened out, but now he wants to put it on his computer, and I told him he could. And now, so you know how they always need codes and this. I can barely keep up with my own freaking code. But anyway, so yeah, but family's always first. But now I got these two phones going. I got a live. I thought while it was quiet at least, and then here we go. I don't know. But we're gonna talk about this. I ain't gonna pay no attention to my phone. Anyway, look, he's in his 30s, honey. I don't need to be worrying about that right now. I'm just telling y'all about some application on a phone now. This ain't like I got little kids, honey. This is just okay. It ain't important. I'm just telling y'all. Yeah, it's only y'all hear my dryer. Y'all probably done heard my dryer going off. I bought that dryer. It ain't even been a year ago, and that is the loudest freaking it goes off, and it scares the hell out of me. But anyway, hey Raymond and Leslie, keep it real, and everybody, me and you. Okay. Oh, okay. So you're not familiar with this. Okay. Well, you're in for it. This is going to be one of the saddest cases. Listen, we are watching what happened to the three little girls out there, and what they suspect that the dad did. And yes, it's definitely a trigger warning. We're going to watch some video on this. And oh, YouTuber, you haven't either? Okay, well, good. Well, we got some people that actually has not heard of it. Okay. Okay. Well, that's a good thing. Okay. Well, let me kind of set the tone here a little bit. Josh Powell, he married Susan Cox, and they had 2 kids. This echoes through all these tragic cases here, and it's a very sad story. It's the same question over and over by Susan's family, the investigators, this entire country, and we're never going to know the why. I said, if you'll see in my title, why Josh, why, but I put under there, we may never know why, because right now I feel like he's dancing with the devil. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. He's dancing with the devil. Josh Powell, he showed clear signs of being emotionally abusive and controlling, and he isolated Susan, and he controlled all their finances, all of her finances. And he was described by friends and family as being manipulative and very narcissistic. See, to people like Josh, control is everything. Yep, another control freak. You heard of this case, hadn't you, Miss Grace? Have you heard of it? Because I remember it well. Okay, so Susan began trying to get her independence. Oh, wow. Okay, so my group is in for something here. Okay, so this is a very sad but interesting story. Okay, thank you, Green Eyes, for suggesting this. Thank you. When you come in and you listen, thank you so much. I appreciate you. But when she started trying to get her independence, because sometimes people start stashing their money or little quarters and dimes here or whatever, and they start planning. And she was planning to leave him. He saw that as a threat and power for her. Okay. So many experts believe he couldn't handle losing her. Some of these narcissistic people out there, they don't want to be alone, and they want to be in control of everything and everybody. Not just emotionally, but in terms of ownership. And listen to me, nobody ever owns anybody. If you hear me say nothing else, please hear me say that. Nobody owns anybody. I don't care what your status is. I don't care how much you think you love somebody. That's not love, okay? But there's a strong belief that Josh displayed his narcissistic personality traits way before this happened. Possibly even some thought he had a narcissistic personality disorder, but we're not doctors here, okay? So we don't know. He wanted to maintain this perfect image behind closed door. He was losing all control. And that's how it usually works. When his image cracked, though, when the investigation turned towards him, when he lost custody of his children, 2 boys, he snapped. And instead of allowing anyone else to have them, he chose to end their lives. And this was his final, I call it selfish, violent act. That's my opinion. I always say I don't understand it, and I don't. Some people believe Josh, and he did a murder-suicide. You're going to see this. But stuff happened way before that, and we'll get into it. We're going to get into it, okay? But Josh did a murder-suicide. He wasn't just an escapee or anything like that that's going on right now. it was a message, I think, to the investigators, to Susan's family, because see, Susan was missing. Okay? He wasn't hurting her. She was missing. But it was kind of a middle finger to the world, if you will, and to her family and to the police. He wanted to maintain his power even in death. So he didn't just kill his boys. He planned this. It was premeditated, and he planned this entire thing. He gave away their toys. He sent farewell emails. He withdrew money. He even baked pancakes for them. Pancakes of all things. Listen to this. He baked pancakes before lighting the match. Pancakes. You know what? I never fucking really want to eat a pancake again. I really don't. He was never held accountable in real time for nothing he did. I just think they were regular pancakes, Miss Grace. I'm going to be honest with you. They're out there. Google it, y'all. But I never heard of spaghetti pancakes until KK. But he was never held accountable. Yeah, I think I'll stick with the French toast and the waffles. No more pancakes for Smiley. Despite the red flags, Susan they went, the mother, Susan, she pleaded, and everything. There was a bleach smell in the house, at midnight when she went missing. Okay, so the wife went missing. But he said they went on a camping trip. He was so disgusting. He had this obsession with Susan. Okay. Josh was never arrested. In my opinion, all the red flags was there. Yes, Heather, the CPS worker, had just took the boys there, and she had to witness the entire thing because, unfortunately, he locked the door and then he blew them up. Absolutely. We're going to see the whole story. We're going to see it. It's horrible. Susan even made a videotape and said, if anything happens to me, he did it. But again, he was never arrested. No arrest, no hard questions. Hey, Bo, good to see you. Good to see everybody. Me and you, Southern Granny Wolf. Hello, hello. They wanted everything handed to them on a silver platter. I mean the law enforcement is who I'm speaking on. That's my opinion. And because the system failed to stop him, these little innocent boys and their mother lost their life. I'm not even going to say his. I'm not counting his. We all know what happened to him. Do I feel sorry for him? No. He's dancing with the devil right as I speak to you in this chat. That's his own choice. That was his choice to dance with the devil. That's right. He's not worthy. He's not worthy. And because the system failed him to stop, 3 others are gone. Lives are tore apart. The Cox family was devastated. I hope he's begging for water. Matter of fact, let me take a sip of my water right here. I said I had water today. Let me take a drink. Mm-mm-mm. 20-ounce bottle of water. Woo! I'm glad I ain't got to dance with that devil. So what can we do now? We can speak up. Hey, Fun to Ski. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Josh Powell and the 2 little boys of his that he unalived, and his wife that went missing right before that. So what can we do now? We can speak up about domestic violence, push for stronger custody and supervised visitation laws. I don't care if it's the man or the woman, okay? And women, if it's you, then you need it too. Remember Susan, Charlie, and Braden by saying their names. We may never fully know why Josh Powell did what he did, but we know he was controlling. We know he was dangerous, and he was willing to take everything from Susan and her family. The better question might be, what can we learn from this? What can we change from this? So other children, and that's my mission here, so other children are not taken too soon. What can we change? Look at the 3 girls out there now. Hello, Rainlaw. Yes, absolutely. We're going to watch some stuff, and hold on, let me get that down. I'm going to put up a banner here, and I'm going to play some music, and then y'all will definitely know the story. This right here is a godsend, Law and Crime. Please drop their link as much as possible. Excuse me. I'm going to play a little low tone of music in the background. Somebody dropped the fair use. Stop it. Okay. And I hope that's not too loud, the music, but it is on barely. And we are going to watch this story. They presented it very nicely. Give me just a second.
Because this is a case that has bothered me for years. And I know it's bothered a lot of other people in the true crime community. And so I wanted to make sure that I went to like the bottom of the barrel, the depths of hell, and scraped out every single piece of information that I possibly could. Now, I also will say this before we get into it, that today's case is one of the more disturbing and honestly unbelievable cases that we've talked about in quite a while. It is a well-known case, as I mentioned, so you may have heard of it, you might have heard bits and pieces about it, and honestly, even I thought I knew the full story. But like I said, once I started researching it, the amount of just like unnerving, twisted, and shocking details I discovered, it almost reminds me, I'm gonna say it, guys, of Chris Watts, except maybe even worse, actually, if you can even imagine that. And I know that I often say, oh, this case has a bunch of twists and turns, but truly, even if you think you know everything about this case, buckle up and we are going to get right into it.
Yep.
So this case takes us back to 2009 when Susan and Josh Powell, a seemingly happily married church-going couple, were living in West Valley City, Utah. There, they were raising their two little boys, 4-year-old Charlie and 2-year-old Braden. On Monday, December 7th, 2009, Josh got home around dinner time with both Charlie and Braden. They had just come back from a father-son camping trip. But when they got home, something was wrong. The police were at the house. Now, apparently that morning when the boys didn't get dropped off at daycare like they usually would, the daycare tried to get a hold of Susan and Josh, but neither of them answered their phones. So then, the daycare got a hold of the boys' emergency contacts, Josh's mom and Josh's sister. They, too, tried calling Susan and Josh. But again, neither of them answered, which this really started to freak them out. So they went over to Josh and Susan's house to make sure that everything was okay. But when they got there, the door was locked, and nobody was answering when they knocked. So finally, they called the police, and they asked them to come and do a welfare check. And when the police arrived, they tried knocking on the door as well. But again, nobody was answering. So this was becoming really weird. The boys didn't go to daycare, nobody was home, and now the police were learning that Susan never went to work that day either, which was extremely, extremely unlike her. Now at that point, Josh's mom, his sister, and the police thought that the only possible explanation in all of this was that the family had died from carbon monoxide poisoning, figuring what other reason would they not be answering the door? Why wouldn't Susan have gone to work? Why wouldn't the boys have gone to daycare? So with that, they felt like they really had no other choice but to break into the house. However, when the police were able to finally get inside by breaking a window, there was very loud music playing, but nobody in the family could be found anywhere in this house. In fact, it looked like the house had been completely undisturbed. Except there was one thing that stood out to the police: a wet spot on the carpet with 2 air fans positioned perfectly pointing at it trying to dry this spot. They also found a wet spot on the loveseat. So when Josh was pulling into his driveway, he had no idea that his family had been reported missing all day. And within minutes of the boys and Josh arriving home, there was kind of this brief sense of relief. Everybody was okay. The boys were back. This was just some huge misunderstanding. Except that feeling of relief went away almost as fast as it came, because Susan was still missing. So as I'm sure you can imagine, when Josh returned home from his camping trip without Susan, he was almost immediately brought into the West Valley Police Station to speak with the detectives. Now, this wasn't a huge deal or anything serious, but his wife was now a missing person, and the police really needed his help to figure out what was going on here. Now, before we get into this next part, we do need to talk a little bit more about Josh and Susan's backgrounds. Susan Powell had brown hair and blue eyes. She was born on October 16th, 1981, and Susan and her sister were raised by their parents as members of the LDS Church. They moved around a little bit when Susan was young, but eventually they all settled in Puyallup, Washington. Now, growing up, Susan was very happy. She was also very outgoing, and she kind of just had this very optimistic and caring personality about her. After high school, she ended up going to cosmetology school, and then in November 2000, Susan attended a dinner party / kind of like this singles event that was hosted by then 24-year-old Josh Powell, and Josh was also a member of the LDS Church. Susan didn't really know Josh, but she had been invited to this singles gathering, this little party, through a mutual friend. And so she had just decided to go to this dinner party. At the end of the party, Susan and Josh began talking, and when they did, they immediately hit it off. That single interaction from that first meeting kickstarted their absolute whirlwind romance. And by the following April, that spring, they were married at a Mormon temple. So as I briefly mentioned, overall, Susan had a pretty normal upbringing, but the same couldn't be said for Josh. So Josh was born on January 20th, 1976, to Steve and Terry Powell. He also grew up in Puyallup, Washington. And as I mentioned, he and his siblings were also raised in the LDS Church. When Josh was 16 years old, his parents ended up filing for divorce, and according to the court documents, their divorce involved not only serious conflicts over parenting and also religion, but there were also very disturbing allegations of polygamy and even witchcraft. Steve believed that women essentially only existed for men. He wanted to have multiple wives, but Terry, she was absolutely against this. So not only did Josh and his siblings grow up watching his parents' very tumultuous, violent, and toxic relationship, but Steve started teaching his sons to share his views about women. That all women are essentially worthless, they should be obedient, that men are always the ones who are in control. And like most divorces, soon the biggest battle became a custody battle over the children. In court documents, Steve accused Terry of engaging in witchcraft because she had studied herbs and natural healing. And Steve said that she mixed this with her Mormon beliefs. And he used that as his proof that she was, quote, practicing witchcraft and devil worship. Meanwhile, Terry said that Steve shared with Josh and with his two brothers, the children, and claimed that Steve was this mentally unfit parent that needed true psychological help. What's also in the court documents is a very disturbing portrayal of Josh, who, remember, was just 16 years old at the time. Josh was described as a seriously troubled teen who had once attempted suicide, killed his pet gerbils, once threatened his mother with a butcher knife over an argument about dishes, and had also adopted his dad's disparaging views about women, which they say the expression is the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but who knows if that would have necessarily been the path that Josh had taken had his dad not heavily tried to influence every single decision that Josh made and his way of thinking. And that's not to give any sort of pass or any sort of excuse here. Everybody certainly is capable of free will and making their own opinions. But Josh was just an impressionable kid and then teenager.
Me too,
and
honey.
so here he's looking at his dad, who I would imagine he somewhat idolizes as a man, a parental figure, and he now is becoming very troubled himself. And it's no surprise that when Josh and Susan met in all of this, I mean, she had no idea about any of this, about any of the history, about any of the red flags, none of it. In her mind, she was marrying her Prince Charming, her life partner, the absolute soulmate to her counterpart, or whatever the expression would be. Now, shortly after getting married, they moved in with Josh's dad, Steve, the same one who had heavily influenced Josh growing up. And this was in South Hill, Washington. But here's where it starts to get really creepy. While living there, Steve developed a very creepy obsession with Susan. And that is putting it beyond mildly, guys. Okay, so Josh and Susan are married. She doesn't know anything about his past. They move in with his dad. And now Steve, his dad, is getting this weird obsession about Susan, his son's new wife. Now, guys, when I say this, this man was truly depraved. I cannot emphasize this enough. Not only did he have this crush on Susan, but he frequently stole underwear from her drawers or from her laundry hamper, and he would with it. Her father-in-law. He would steal her dirty underwear and clean underwear as well, and mate with it. Like, what a beyond disgusting creep. He also constantly took photos of Susan, and Steve was actually known for being the kind of dad who always had his camcorder out. You know what, the one I'm talking about. And I say camcorder, which totally dates me, but you know, where they have it on their shoulder, they're videoing every single thing. He was always making these home movies, but instead of making home movies about the whole family or the whole house, he would just zoom in on Susan. And he would zoom in on her butt anytime she walked away, or he would just focus completely on her the entire time he was recording. At one point, he even set up a hidden camera in the bathroom so that he could record Susan all without her knowing. He even started collecting Susan's used cotton balls, the ones that she would use to remove her nail polish and then toss away in the garbage. He would collect used tampons, used pads, like a full-blown collection, guys. And there are actual pictures of this, not just allegations. It is truly unhinged. And he would use those items, those dirty sanitary items as well, anytime when he would fantasize about Susan and start. Now, if you're thinking, okay, Annie, that's revolting. That is foul. I've had about enough. I'm not even done yet, guys. So buckle up again. He also had a journal.
I'm going to give y'all a little break for just a second, because she's right. It's not even half done. It's crazy. It is beyond nuts what this man did. And he was the father. And she's right. Nuts don't fall far from the tree. Apples don't fall far from the tree. Yeah, and the son and her was living in the house. It was very disturbing. Yes, yep, it sure is. she was on Law and Crime. It sure is. She's sweet. I see her a lot um, asking, she does help, needs help behind the scenes and stuff. She's great. I love her. Absolutely. She does a good job. Love her work. Absolutely. Yeah, this is my go-to Law and Crime. They are absolutely great. But yeah, that's who that is. Absolutely. But this was back, made years ago. I don't know. But anyway, but on December 6, 2009, Susan Cox Powell, that's when she vanished. I don't know if she's going to tell that or not, but it was December 6, 2009. So it was very cold. It was in December, and her husband, Josh, claimed she stayed at home while he took the two children, the two toddlers at that, camping in a blizzard at midnight. Are you serious right now? Are you serious? Now, why would the mother, first of all, let her two young toddlers go camping in a blizzard? That did not happen, y'all. That didn't happen. Again, as we're going to see, the truth unraveled, and it unraveled in the most horrific way possible. But what I want to know is, why wasn't Josh Powell arrested? Why was the red flags ignored? Why are the damn red flags always ignored? Hey, wait, what? Hey, you're heading to Washington State. Y'all say prayers for this old girl, please. We sure will. Absolutely. Many prayers and safe travels. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Red flags, red flags. Everywhere red flags. Absolutely. Okay, let's see.
And he would write all of these sick, twisted, and deranged fantasies about Susan inside this journal. And he also had a video journal where he would actually talk about it in depth. He also videotaped himself sniffing Susan's underwear. I mean, just beyond disgusting.
God, I worship her. She just turns me on. I'm in a perpetual state of turmoil when she's around.
No! Oh, move your hand. Move the box.
This is a week after waxing. No hair.
I'm gonna do it. No, it's really pretty clear.
Do me a favor, when Josh gets home, show him this, okay?
Okay.
So I want to see what he says.
You have a nice profile too.
I hate my profile.
Actually, it's really pretty.
Here's my stash of pictures that I feel very fortunate to have. There she is, and I don't know when. This is another high shot, probably.
That is sad, I know. That's
A couple of mornings ago when I was taping her, doing her makeup, every time she takes a shower, I'm anxious to get into her laundry.
It would be great to go to Colorado and see a different part of the U.S., you know?
Yeah. I'm probably wrong, but I'm really falling in love with it. Maybe I'm interpreting something that I shouldn't be interpreting. It just, for example, when we were sitting on the couch, it just felt like you were very, I was extremely aroused, and I think you were somewhat aroused, at least I thought.
I don't know where you're going with this.
And Susan, I'll tell you where
I'm married to your son, and I should just be the daughter-in-law.
I know.
Which puts me a step beneath your own children.
Okay.
And that's where I'm coming from. I was kind of meaning to talk to you about this. My own father doesn't kiss me, and you you kissed me, and I didn't like that.
That's
Oh, wow. So she told him it was all recorded.
really want her.
It was definitely a romantic obsession, yeah. I mean, Susan's a beautiful woman, and when a beautiful woman comes on to you like that, it's really hard to resist that kind of a thing. I mean, maybe it's just me. Probably inappropriate, but I admit those things were going on. I just had what is probably the most erotic experience I've had in my entire life. I hate to say it. I mean, of course, I haven't had that many experiences, but Susan has been feeling ill. She had a cold. And I offered to rub her feet, to rub her toes, to give her some stimulation.
Yeah, he was, Roxy.
That went on. I probably rubbed her feet. Her toes, her beautiful feet. She has such pretty feet. Of course, everything about her is pretty, beautiful. And I know she felt it. I mean, I know she couldn't have missed it. She's not naive either. I know from what I've read in her journals. That girl is not naive. When I started massaging her legs, I would have loved to go all the way up her legs, but I did do her calves because her feet were resting in my crotch, so
my God.
I sort of rubbed her
He is
calves.
sick. Hey, Lisa.
She didn't seem to mind at all having me that close. I mean, I was close. I was touching her with my crotch. Then I just started rubbing her back and her neck and her shoulders. I didn't want to push my luck. Josh was sitting across the room on the chair, and he wasn't always watching, so I sort of took liberties as he didn't watch. And I put my hands around the front, and I did feel her breasts.
Love you, Maurice.
I didn't put my hands, and I didn't cup my hands over
Okay,
them.
love you. I'll be on tonight.
A little bit on the underneath, and she had an underwire bra on. Wow. Yeah. It's hard to remember everything I did. Man, I love that woman. She is so beautiful. Can't even get enough of her. Can't get enough of looking at her. She's so pretty. And I held her arm, and I held her hand. I cupped her hand in her beautiful little hands. And I rubbed her forearm, and I massaged it all up and down. Massaged it for a long time. I went up her sleeve.
He is such a liar.
She didn't even mind. She seemed to enjoy it. I mean, I slipped my hand up inside of her sleeve, and I had it over here, and I was massaging her shoulder blade, and I was right here, just above her breast.
Now, obviously, this was extremely upsetting and uncomfortable, to say the absolute least. And Susan apparently even told Josh about all of this, saying like, hey, your dad's making me really uncomfortable. But Josh didn't do anything about it. And he kind of even brushed it off like Susan was just crazy. But in any event, it ended up reaching a boiling point. And finally, Josh and Susan moved out, and they moved into a home in West Valley City, Utah. Now, this move was great. It was a fresh start for both Susan and Josh, and not long after they moved, they welcomed their first son, Charlie, in 2005. Then they welcomed little Braden in 2007. Susan absolutely loved being a mom too. Becoming a mother was something that she had always wanted. She loved being an LDS member at the church. She enjoyed bringing Charlie and Braden with her to church, even though Josh eventually stopped attending. And on top of being a busy mom, Susan worked full-time. She worked at Wells Fargo while Josh worked as a computer programmer. Now, going back to the night when Josh came home with the boys from that camping trip and Josh going to the police station, he answered a few questions, but he was pretty tired, so detectives ended up telling him, like, hey, go home, get some rest, come back in the morning, and you can finish answering some questions. So the next day, Josh came back into the police station, and this time he was in a more formal interview room. But again, he wasn't under arrest or anything at all. It was all totally voluntary, just talking with the detectives. And Josh spent nearly 4 hours talking with them, talking about his life, the night of Susan's disappearance, and kind of honestly just a whole lot of nothing. Josh said that Susan hadn't been feeling well the night before, so that's why he had decided to get the boys out of the house for a little bit, take them on this father-son camping trip. But he said that other than her not feeling well in the evening, that Sunday was just like any typical Sunday for her. She went to church with her boys at Hunter 36, the LDS ward, and then later that afternoon, one of her neighbors came over for a visit. After the neighbor left, Josh ended up making breakfast for dinner, and then Susan started to lay down because she said she wasn't feeling well. But everything was pretty normal. Then later that evening, he went camping with the boys, and then when he got home the following day, he found out, just like everybody else, that Susan was now missing. Which, okay, fair enough, that could make sense, that is plausible. But then the detectives asked Josh why he was a no-show at his job and why he took the kids out on a Monday morning from daycare. Josh claimed that he didn't realize that it was Monday. He thought that it was still Sunday, or that it had been Sunday, I should say, which I have to say is pretty odd, since he had just said that morning before that Susan went to church, and it's pretty standard that church is on a Sunday. But anyways, in any event, detectives just kind of moved on, and they just wanted to hear more about what sparked this random one-day camping trip in December, no less, in Utah with 2 toddlers. And Josh said that Susan was asleep and that he left her at the house around at 12:30 a.m. so that he could go camping with his sons. And let me just say, guys.
So I wonder if he claimed he even told her he was taking them camping. Who goes camping in a blizzard in Utah with 2 toddler boys who's hard to handle anyway, in my opinion, for one guy? I don't buy it. Nobody buys it. Nobody ever did buy it. But I wonder if LE was buying it, or they were just hoping to find her, in my opinion. I don't know. You know, I just know that laws need to be changed and something needs to be done, because this keeps happening over and over and over again, as we see. And red flags are ignored, and children are being hurt and unalived by people like this. And so is, you know, the spouses, and the abuse just keeps on and on and on. You know, like I said, he's dancing in with the devil. And again, I guess he had to answer to his higher powers, because he was he blowed himself to smithereens, right? Yeah, he went camping. You're right about that, in my opinion, Funduski, because he did something to her. That's why them wet spots was there. They could smell bleach. Think about Peterson. You know, they were just waiting. Her body washed up, but that was a different state also. So, you know, maybe different states, different rules. I don't know. But same thing, they could smell the bleach clean and all that in that house. Scott Peterson. They smelt the bleach there too. They saw the fan trying to dry up those spots. And that's exactly what he did with her, in my opinion, somewhere along the way anyway. Oh no, Sheila, you must have come in late on that, honey. He was so narcissist. He gave the whole world a middle finger, and when CPS come out there, shut the door. You're going to see. He blew himself and the kids up. It gets worse. It gets worse. Yep. Yep, and there's still people who thinks he's innocent. Absolutely. It's sad.
I am a parent of 2 toddlers, And on no planet am
No,
I
Scott.
packing up
Yeah,
my two
Scott.
kids
It's
at
Scott
midnight,
Grizzly.
after midnight,
Yes.
in the depths of winter to go on a camping trip on a whim on a Sunday night. Something is weird. And that's not the only strange and kind of unbelievable thing about this whole story. The night before, there was also a
Scott just
huge
got the tail
snowstorm.
beat out of him.
But Josh insisted that he had generators and he had other camping gear and he wanted to try it out and they'd be warm and it wasn't that big of a deal. But
from the other
again,
end.
I'm sorry, who in their absolute right mind wakes up a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old in the middle of the night during a blizzard to go camping? So then the detective said, okay, sure, I'll roll with this. But where did you go camping? The detective then asked more questions, asking where he stopped, what direction he went, and how exactly Susan was supposed to get to work since they shared a car. And here's how Josh responded.
Did you make arrangements? Did you guys talk about arrangements for her getting to work?
I was thinking it was going to be Sunday, and I didn't even think about work. Probably about it.
Okay. And what time did you guys? What time did you say you left your house?
Seemed like it was 1:30 or 2.
Okay. And so you leave the house. I just need to know the exact route, what you took, where you went. If you stopped and got fuel, if you stopped to get food, if you stopped anywhere, I need to know where you stopped. So walk me through your route, where you stopped.
I don't think I stopped anywhere.
Where you went.
I just went through Tooele and headed south.
Okay. So I need to know your route. I mean, I need to know like where. You say you went through Tooele and get to Tooele 2 different ways.
No, he didn't.
How did you get to Tooele? So you left your house and you used Interstate 80?
Yeah.
To Tooele?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I mean, I just headed south.
Mm-hmm.
And found my way onto a Pony Express route, and that was it. Then I just pulled off into some trail.
Mm-hmm. So you just took I-80, went through Tooele, and you went to the Pony Express route, and you didn't stop anywhere.
No, I don't think so.
I just realized something. This is the next day. He went back the next day. Now, he's not the least bit concerned or upset that his wife, the mother of his 2 boys, are missing. You see, these people don't care. It seems like, in my opinion, when they know where they're at or they do something to them, they ain't trying to be all upset with the police. Y'all notice that? Because I sure do. Just saying.
Okay, so you're saying you already had a full tank of gas, you didn't have to fill up?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, I had a tank of gas.
Okay, so you didn't have
I
to.
think I might have gotten it the day before or the day of or something. I don't remember.
Okay, so you drove Pony Express trail, you didn't, no stop for food, gas, nothing, right? Okay. And you get the Pony Express trail, obviously go west, right?
Yeah.
And how far west do you go?
I honestly wasn't even paying attention, but I just drive, and if anything looks good.
I've honestly, to be honest with you, I've never been out there. I need to make sure.
I haven't been out there too often.
Out there, so
it's a nasty road.
Okay, so I don't know if there's like any landmarks, if there's camping grounds all along the road. If there's, are there roads that come off of the Pony Express Trail and go south and north?
No.
No.
There's just trails that you can. I don't know. I've only been out there 3 or 4 times.
Okay. Well, you've been out there much recent before I mean,
yeah.
Pretty recent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
But it was also snowing, and so I was pretty focused on the road.
Okay.
Looking for a turnoff. Like I say, I just found a trail. And
were you concerned with the snow, knowing that there was a snowstorm coming in?
Yeah, I was.
In a minivan?
Actually, the minivan handles like a 4x4.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go some serious off-roading with that minivan.
Okay. So, I mean, wasn't that a concern with the storm coming in and it was already snowing?
It wasn't already snowing when I left.
No, it was snowing when you got out
It
there.
was, yeah. And so I was watching the road and I'm going, how thick is this going to get?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, what are the odds that it'll be anything that'll get us stuck out there?
Mm-hmm.
And we have the generator and the heaters, and so it's like, well, we can risk it.
Yeah.
Already here, what the heck?
Okay, sorry, I don't mean to keep stopping it. So, no, the dad, Stephen Powell, he was so twisted, but he died. Well, first of all, he was in prison. He got charged for how do you say that? Voyeurism, and pornography, and he was so deeply disturbed. Okay, and let's see, I think he was released in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. He had to be registered as an S offender. His reputation too ruined the Cox family. It just did. But he died in 2018, so he wasn't out that long. And they said he died from natural causes. And he never revealed the truth about Susan. And he took those secrets to his grave. And they think he had key knowledge of what happened to her and where she's at. So yeah, that part.
Okay. So about how far do you think you went west on the trail? If you had to guess.
I don't know. Maybe 20 miles or who knows.
Okay. So maybe 20 miles. Okay. Then just walk me through from that point all the way up until you left that area.
Well, I just
Oh my
stopped,
God, I'm glad you got
set up
away
the
from
generator just on a tarp and plugged in the heaters. Got some sleep.
Just right there on the trail?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you set up the generator and you set up the heaters and you sleep, right?
Actually I did also the humidifier.
Okay.
And then we woke up dawnish after the light.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a little campfire, hung out, drove all over creation.
Okay.
I do
You
too.
just do
Lorraine.
the campfire just
I think he knew exactly what happened.
right there on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
What did you use for the campfire?
Just wood. Just some crappy wood that I had.
Okay. That's so you just basically you stayed on the Pony Express Trail. There's no trails that come off of it, right? Off of the road.
Well, just the trails. Yeah, I mean,
did you just drive on the road straight out to this campground?
No, we drove into the trails.
So you drove on some of the trails then?
Yeah.
Okay. How could you see the trails with the snow out there?
You can tell.
Can you?
Some are wide, some are narrow. I don't know.
So Josh doesn't know where he went. He doesn't know how far he went. He doesn't know where he pulled over. He doesn't know anything. And then the fact that the detective said, well, why did you continue driving when there was a huge snowstorm that was coming in? And Josh replied, I don't know. I just thought I'd risk it. Really? Risk it? With a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old? Okay, so according to Josh, he has no idea where they were, right? He has no idea how long they were there for, what route he took on the way home, what time they left. He knows nothing. I mean, it truly was ridiculous. He couldn't commit to anything, almost to the point where it was extremely awkward during this interview. He also couldn't seem less uninterested in where his missing wife could possibly be. It was beyond strange. And guys, the hole that he is beginning to dig for himself is about to get even deeper. Josh said that after leaving the campgrounds and going back home, he again doesn't know which route he took.
So coming back, you say around maybe 11 or 12, he thought it was time to leave, and he started coming back. Walk me through that from that time up until, tell me that where you drove to, where you stopped.
I just head north, just head east and north.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a Lehigh sign, so I was like, take Lehigh.
But he says that he stopped at a self-service car wash
That's who
and
I
he
feel
washed
sorry
his
for.
car while it was snowing.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Like, you've got to be the dumbest person in my mind, honestly. Who's washing their car in a snowstorm when you're saying you don't even know where you were driving? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, sure, yes, getting a good car wash after camping, maybe your car's filthy. Okay, I can make sense of that. But this wasn't that at all. Josh said that he stopped to give his car a full detail treatment at one of these self-service places. You know the kind where you drive up under a bay, you use one of those power washers, you use quarters to pay, you vacuum the inside of it. And Josh power washed the living crap out of his car. He also vacuumed it as much as he possibly could in the interior, all during a blizzard in the middle of nowhere. Totally normal, right? Now, this interview, as I said, lasted around 4 hours. During the entire interview, Josh was trying to muster up these tears that just were not coming. He kept sniffling every 2 minutes, almost making this interview pretty unbearable to watch back. Because to be perfectly honest, there were no real tears, no real emotion, and his wife was missing.
Well, let me ask you this then, okay? Do you feel like you're under arrest?
I don't know. I didn't even think it was that. It didn't even sink in yesterday. But I don't know where she's at, and she ain't back yet.
Okay. So you don't know if you don't know if you feel like you're under arrest or not.
I feel like you guys are.
Oh, please.
I mean, I already told you guys everything I can think of, and I haven't. I actually didn't think of one thing.
Everything I can
She has another friend that I wasn't even thinking of. This one of her closest friends is Kiersey.
Okay. Well, let me explain something to you, Josh. Okay.
But I can't even think straight.
Okay. Let me explain something to you. You're not under arrest. Okay. If you were under arrest, I would have came to your home. I would have put handcuffs on you.
I agree, Sheila. What the hell is wrong with him?
So understand that right now. You're not under arrest or anything. Okay. The problem we have and what we're investigating is what? A missing person. Right?
You're right.
That missing person being your wife. And initially, this all turned out to be basically missing people. An entire family, and that's why we were notified. Okay. And that's why we were at your home. That's why we broke the window into your home to make sure that if there was anybody in there, that they were okay. Okay. This report came from your mom, which is obviously very concerned, and that was started by the daycare provider.
By the way, she has a key to my house. Okay. The daycare provider has a key, so I don't know why.
I know she will.
Why they had to break the window when she started it and she had a key.
Okay. Well, that was not brought to our attention, obviously. Okay. So the concern here is obviously, and you mentioned that we talked.
And by the way,
we spoke yesterday, Got some general stuff from you. All right.
Okay.
I mean, what do you want us to do? Do you not want us to talk to you? Do you not want us to talk to anybody and just leave you alone and hope that she shows up? Is that what you want us to do?
No.
Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to do my job. You know what I'm saying? Who's the closest person to her?
You did your job. This could have been prevented in my.
Who's the closest person to her? Who?
That's me.
Exactly. So you're telling me that you do not want to come in here and talk to me and answer my questions so we can try to figure out where potentially she could be.
They told me that I should have an attorney because you don't know what's going on. They said that I'm, pretty much in over my head.
Okay. You're in over your head because your wife is missing.
Because you guys are already trying to trap me on little things, like my hands, for one.
Taking pictures of your hands showing that there's no serious injuries to your hands is trapping you. How?
Well, when you guys were doing it, you're telling me
I asked you where you got the nick on your.
See, they failed because in where he's at in that state, they could have held him in jail instead of saying, "Oh, honey, let me pat you on the head or the back like a cute little puppy dog. Do you feel like you're under arrest? Do you feel like you're under arrest? Let's see what your answer is. Let's see. Let's see what you got to say. What is your answer?" They could have held him for 48 to 72 hours without charging him with a damn crime. See, that's the problem with most of these officers. They don't have the balls to do that. I'm just saying.
Knuckle.
Well,
And you explained that it was dry skin. Okay. Makes sense.
Dry skin and work. I mean, I just work.
Like I said, you don't have
arrest you for
if you don't want to
suspicious
be here,
timeline,
I didn't force you to come here, and I'm not forcing you to
They
stay.
could have arrested
Okay.
him for a strange midnight camping
If you don't want to
no
talk,
body,
you can leave.
no crime scene, no eyewitnesses.
You're not
I
under
think
arrest. I
Of
haven't
course,
heard
it
you
may
I
out.
think it would be a good idea to talk,
they
but I think it might be a good idea to have an
They could
attorney.
have held him for
What's an
48
attorney do for
hours.
you?
I don't know.
Answer your questions for you. I don't need the answers from an attorney. I need the answers from the husband that's closest to this missing person, to Susan. You know her better than I do. You know her better than anybody because you guys have been living together. You're married.
Who should I look at as a suspect?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at.
I can't think of anyone who's.
Can't think of anyone. Who should I look at as a person of interest? Who should I start talking to just as much as I've been talking to you? Who should I talk to that much? Because you're saying that, you're concerned because we've been talking to you for so long.
Well, that's not really a concern.
Okay. Because
It's only.
my perception is I'm trying to get as much information as I can get. And, when I get up and I leave, I go out and I share information. If there's any new information, okay. He states that she
Legally,
works
yes,
here,
they could have
let's get a
held
hold of
Josh
Linda
Powell
and
for
see
up to
if Linda-
48 hours in
You know what I'm
2009
saying?
if they
I
had
mean,
probable cause to
What,
believe he was
are you
involved
concerned
in
as far
a crime
what's your thoughts on
like
what we're doing to
disappearance
find
of
her?
his wife, Susan Cox
You haven't
Powell.
even inquired as to
But they did.
what we're doing.
do except you already told me that you checked the hospitals and you've talked to everyone we know. And what else do you do?
He seemed more upset that the window of his house was broken, and he kept bringing that up over and over and over again.
Yeah, and so I was kind of pissed off that they broke the window. Like I was trying to fix that window. They busted a window in my house.
Oh, they did? Who did?
Yeah, they broke a window. Apparently in
See,
the
I don't
morning.
know. I don't know anything about this case. I'm just
Josh came off as totally uninterested, and he acted like he couldn't remember anything at all, as if he just had the absolute worst memory in the world, yet none of the stuff that the police had been asking him were things that he would have zero recollection or memory of, because most of the questions that were asked all pertained to things that he had done in the last 24 to 48 hours. It wasn't like they were asking him something about 5 or 10 years ago.
You talked earlier about how kind of sporadic throughout the day and early afternoon you were packing the vehicle and getting things ready for this trip. Tell me everything that you packed and put inside the vehicle.
3 pairs of clothes for each boy. And for me. Heaters. I actually grabbed a humidifier because, it's pretty nasty this time of year.
Wonder if he stopped anywhere to get
Generator.
gas. I don't know.
Some wood. Fire extinguisher.
If anybody's
Lighters.
seen him.
Bunch of camping gear.
Okay.
Sleds were already in there, so I just kept them in there.
What kind of camping gear?
I couldn't even tell you at this point. It's a box.
Okay.
I mean, I just grab it and assume whatever I need is going to be in there when it's ready.
Look, he's laughing,
Okay.
y'all.
And mostly the things I use are on top.
It's a
Like
box.
the s'more sticks. And
Mm-hmm.
although I don't necessarily use those either because it's just easier to grab
Yeah.
a stick and then burn it.
Okay. What else did you put in there?
Some cords, flashlight. I don't know, just a bunch of stuff.
Cords. What do you mean by cords?
Just cords so I can plug in the,
Electrical cords?
yeah,
Okay. And what's the bunch of this other stuff?
I don't know. I mean,
Oh, come on, Josh. You remember putting cream cheese in a pancake, and you tell me you can't remember what you put in your car?
There's a
I mean, that's
pancake.
basically all the significant stuff.
Anything else? Remember?
Nothing significant.
But Josh, his response, he was acting like it, like, oh, I just can't remember. Bro, it was yesterday. It was yesterday. What do you mean? And for all of his effort that he went through to act like he didn't remember anything for the past 4 hours of this interview, it was so painfully obvious that he was faking like he forgot. While at the same time, he also kept asking detectives if he was a suspect, even going as far as saying, well, they usually look at the spouses first, right? I mean, he really thought that he was being sly here or something. It is truly unbelievable. But as we know, the spouses usually are looked at first. So they needed to look outside of this. Could there be anybody else involved? Were they just narrowing in on Josh for, a bias, for an unknown reason? But Susan didn't have any enemies. Everybody else that the police talked to said that Susan loved her boys and that she would never, ever leave them. There were also no signs of forced entry into the house, and it was really like pulling teeth to get Josh to give an answer to any of these questions. So detectives were not buying any of the bull that he was trying to sell, and it was not looking good for Josh. Now, towards the end of the interview, after he had tried to leave a couple of times, the detective told him, no, you're being detained at this point. Because as all of this was going down, another detective had interviewed one of his children, little Charlie. And Charlie said that Susan actually went camping with them that night.
Y'all
And not
listen to
only
this.
that, but that they left her there. Now, of course, Josh said that his son was lying in all of this.
They know that she didn't go with us.
Well, here's the thing. Kids are very honest. That's one thing I've learned in the years of doing this job. That when kids talk to us, we'll listen because they're honest. And they never lie. They don't make things up. So if they're saying they were with you, they were with you. Okay? I mean, she was with you. So I have to believe the kids. So now it's going to be up to you if you want to help us find her.
That right there, they could
help
have
us
kept him
get to
in
the
jail
bottom of
48
it.
hours, right there.
That's what we're here for. Okay? We're going to find out either way, with your help or without your help. I honestly don't need your help. I feel confident enough in my investigation and his investigation and everybody else involved. We have great.
By the kids telling the cops that mommy went camping with them and she didn't come back, she was dropped off, they could have kept him in jail at least 48 hours if they chose not to put him under arrest for doing something to her. They absolutely could have. They're sitting there telling him now they believe the kids. They failed everybody, in my opinion. Now, at that point, they put him in jail. If he wants to get an attorney, okay, that's his right. But they sure could have locked his ass up and held him there. But that's what the kids told.
Detectives in this department, then we'll find out what happened. We'll get to the bottom of this with your help, without your help. So I want to give you the opportunity to help us and tell us what really happened. Because you're the only one that knows.
Nothing that happened. She was not with us. And if my kids said that.
So your kids lie then? Do your kids lie?
Sometimes they do. I mean, if they said that she was with us, they know that's not true.
So if they
said that she was with us, then I guess that would put her out the Pony Express.
Okay, and that's my concern. That's our concern.
That's what I would like to know.
And if there's any way we can help her, we can help her right now if you help us out.
No, she was not with us. I didn't leave her at the Pony Express. I didn't just take her out and drop her off or even do anything.
At that time,
so detectives did interview Charlie that same day. And a lot more information came from that interview than what came from Josh's interview. Charlie was only 4 years old at the time, so the detectives knew that they had to take his age into consideration, of course. But he said that he did in fact go camping with his brother and his dad. But he said that his mom was there also, but that she didn't make it home with them.
Okay, so Charlie, when you guys came home from camping, who came home with you?
My dad.
And
my mom stayed at Dinosaur National Park.
Your mom stayed there?
Yeah.
How do you know your mom stayed?
Because I was coming.
Because you were coming?
Yeah.
So your mom stayed at the park?
Yeah.
Where did she stay at the park? Do
you
know where?
She stayed at Dinosaur National Park.
Do you know where at the park? No?
No. My mom stayed where a crystals are.
Where what are?
Where crystals are.
The crystals? Crystals?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Crystals?
Yeah.
Your mom stayed where the crystals are?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Truthfully, Charlie's statement was pretty eerie, but the police didn't really know what to make of it or whether or not what he was saying had any sort of truth to it, because even though he was saying things that were in line with what Josh had said happened, he also said a lot of stuff that would have been impossible, like they went on an airplane ride to go get to the campsite. And remember, he was also 4 years old. And Charlie sounded like your typical 4-year-old, just full of imagination, full of making up stories in your mind, but also possibly and probably some truth sprinkled in throughout those stories. So when he was interviewed again the following day, the detective referred to his mom by her real name, by Susan, and he kept bringing her up, trying to get Charlie to speak more about this alleged camping trip. And then at one point, Charlie said that they couldn't talk about Susan.
We can't talk about Susan or camping. I always keep things as secrets.
Well, when we talk about your mom, we can't keep that a secret because your mom would want us to talk about her. Who told you you can't talk about your mom?
No, I guess my brain told me.
Your brain told you that? Well, your brain needs to tell you that it's okay to talk about your mom because we want to find your mom. So in order to find your mom, we got to talk about it.
We are doing blessings.
You're doing blessings?
Yeah, but then stuff. But it's okay that I keep a secret because we are doing blessings.
You know what? It's not okay to keep secrets if it will help us find your mom. So we need to talk about those secrets. Did somebody tell you to keep a secret?
No, only my brain did.
Your brain did? What else did your brain tell you
God.
about the secret?
My brain won't tell me to say that.
Your brain won't tell you to say it?
Josh and Susan shared a car, like I mentioned earlier, a blue Chrysler Town & Country minivan, and police spent the 7th and the 8th all day searching this van. And what they found inside was painting a very disturbing picture. Police found a metal crowbar, a circular saw, shovels, tarps, cans of gasoline, a box of plastic gloves, and a tote filled with 31 pieces of camping equipment and supplies, most of which were all never used. They also found Susan's pink Motorola phone, and they noticed that the SIM card was missing from the phone. Which I just gotta say, why would Susan's phone be in the minivan when Josh said that she didn't go camping with them? So the family's garage was also searched in all of this, and the garage had most things that you would expect to see in a garage, but it also had tons and tons of power tools. Inside the house, near the couch where that wet spot was, remember the one I said where the fans were pointing directly at it to make it air dry? The same one that the officer saw when they first broke into the home? Well, near that spot, investigators found a bit of blood on a floor tile. And after it was tested, it was determined that the blood was Susan's. They also found multiple life insurance policies that came out to a whopping total of $1.5 million, all for Susan. And jumping ahead a little bit, but still while we're on the topic of finances, 10 days after Susan disappeared, Josh filed paperwork to withdraw all of Susan's retirement funds. And we're going to come back to that shortly. So things obviously are not looking good for Josh. And on top of all of that, where was Josh while his van was in police custody being searched? You would think that maybe he would be out, I don't know, searching for his missing wife, passing out flyers, at home comforting his 2 little toddler boys who were missing their mom. But nope, that's not where Josh was. Instead, he rented a Ford Focus and put 807 miles on it. For 18 hours, he was unaccounted for, and nobody was able to get a hold of him. And the reason why nobody was able to get a hold of him is because he...
Well, there's 18 hours missing. What in the heck is going on with these hours missing, people? Lord, hold on. Pancakes. 17 hours missing. Now we got 18 hours missing in pancakes. I'm taking notes. I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying. What in the hell is going on? Right. So in one case, we got 17 hours missing. Spaghetti pancakes. Where's everybody going for 17 and 18 hours? Oh, geez. I'm just saying. But I do believe them little boys. Right. Smell like bleach. Right. Hey, Neater. Hello. I always taught kids about good and bad secrets. Yeah, exactly. And these are not good secrets. And for that little kid to be saying, my brain is telling me, somebody taught him that, in my opinion. Yep, up to no good. And they had the shovel. I can't get over all the stuff unused. Tarps, shovels, all the things. Yeah, coached. Absolutely. And he was not held. Huh. Interesting.
He went out and got a new phone while he was out on this joyride trip. So God only knows what Josh was thinking while all of this was going on. I mean, probably sweating bullets and thinking that he was about to be arrested, right? But he was about to be in for a major surprise. As police continued their investigation, they had been able to access Susan's safety deposit box, one that she had at work, one that she only had access to. Inside of it, they found a journal and also a handwritten note which said, "Last will and testament for Susan Powell." Inside that note, she wrote that she had been having marital issues for 4 years, and she also confessed that she did not trust Josh. The note said, quote, "If Susan Powell dies, it may not be an accident, even if it looks like one." She also had savings bonds and legal documents inside in case she ever decided to leave Josh and bring her kids with her. And detectives had learned, too, that Susan told a coworker at one point, "If something ever happens to me, make sure that they look at Josh." The coworker replied to this, being like, "What do you mean? Has he threatened you?" Susan said, "No, it's just the way that he talks." Josh told her that if she ever even thought about divorce, he would make it his mission to end her, and that she would never, ever see the boys again. Now, most of their marital issues were reportedly financially driven, but they also included Josh just kind of overall not helping with the boys, putting everything on Susan, and almost not really wanting to have anything to do with her at all. And she said that there was little to no physical intimacy whatsoever. Susan was the breadwinner, and Josh made her stick to a very strict budget, questioning every single thing that she purchased. He told her that she needed to use certain coupons for groceries, and that once she was done grocery shopping, she needed to enter it all into a spreadsheet that he would later review. And even so little as a 10-cent difference, it would just make him spiral, go off the rails completely. And what's crazy about their financial issues is that Josh was the one with the spending problem. And at times, he had a really difficult time sticking with a job. He even declared bankruptcy in 2007 with over $200,000 in debt. And I just gotta say, we oftentimes see where money is a motivator, especially in either murder for hire plots or murders or people going missing. But we also see that when there is a certain level of control over one person who exudes the control, who wants to be the one making all the decisions, oftentimes we do see where they are so strict with spending, just like it was said that Josh was, where they need to know where every single penny is going, yet they're the ones either frivolously spending or they're the ones off having affairs. It is just beyond. Now, remember those video journals I mentioned about Josh's creepy-ass dad? Well, Susan also made her own video journals. And in hers, she was documenting the way that Josh treated her. She documented what assets were hers in the house. I mean, she documented all of it. It was like she made this perfect paper trail of evidence for the police to follow so that they could uncover the truth.
This is me, July 29, 2008. It is 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible. Charlie, say hi. Today is Tuesday, July 29th, 2008. And we are in the 6254 West Sarah Circle house. This is me. Hi. Sorry. And it is, can you see that? 11:44 a.m. And I am documenting all our assets just in case of any emergencies, fire, flood, damage, disputes. And we have 2 Samsung monitors. And this is Josh's computer, and there's some type of backup device and speakers. And here's the kind of pimping out stuff he's done to his computer. He built it himself. I think there's like 5 hard drives, something about doing raids. There's those for all the computer geeks. And Josh locked this, but this is all of his files. See, locked. Those are his files. And he bought expensive stuff like these are, I think this was like a couple of $1,000 of like, it says graphic design templates by Stock Layouts or something like that. All right, here's our unfinished basement. We bought 3,000 pounds of wheat, and these are buckets of wheat. Here is a rigid saw. I don't know the differences. I think this is a chop saw. Oh, there we go. It says miter saw utility vehicle, MSUV. Oh, that's the holding thing of it. And there is a shop vac. This is all stuff bought in a year or less through Home Depot on my credit. Josh bought a lot of stuff, and then he had to bankrupt it. And then he bought a little bit more on my credit. There's a nice lamp. These are things to roll wood with. Oh, there's his RC car.
Yeah.
It's pretty pimped out. If you can see that stuff. I think he's got probably a 3,000 worth of supplies in the RC car world. It's a beauty salon chair. We got Verco chairs. And here is our safe. Bear with me a moment. I'm going to press the code. Okay. So, things are fairly organized. We've got all sorts of files. This is all thanks to me trying to save them. A whole lot more tools. So we brought drill sets. There's a nail gun by Boss Stitch. There's a rigid small drill.
In his eyes, we're
a
watching
Milwaukee drill.
Josh Powell.
A rigid, I think that's a sander of some sort. There's another rigid saw. Paint supplies. This is all of Josh's RC car stuff. You are with me. I'm told it's like worth $3,000. There's more RC car parts. Yeah, we got that rigid step ladder. There's some fans. Okay, now we're upstairs. Here's another drill. There's another RC car and remote. Here's a laptop. So it's expansion port 3. I don't know what kind it is. There's part of the phone. Books. These are the ones that we felt should be out. These books my mom gave me. Beautiful brown encyclopedias. There's a wedding picture. This remote, I guess, is like $300. Justified by a babysitter to be able to run our TV. Let go of my leg. Okay. So Josh built his entertainment center. Speakers, 5.1 surround sound. Be quiet, Charlie. So. Don't touch the TV. This is, go to your room if you're going to be whiny. AIWA is the brand. 5
Thank
disc.
you so much.
CD or DV, I don't know, stereo system.
So
there's this one of the speakers.
Hold on,
2, 3, 4.
He's the one. It's a pretty close case. This happened in 2009. He's the one, if you remember, that unalived himself and the 2 children when the caseworker come to the house and he shut the door and he blew up everything. If you don't remember, his wife, Susan Powell, went missing right here on the screen. And it's a very sad case. He claimed when the mother went missing that he took his 2 toddler sons out in a snowstorm and went camping and come back and the mother was gone. And the reason that the police was even there, he was shocked to find the police there because they had did a wellness check on them. But yeah, it's a very sad case. And those who don't know about this case, they never found her body. And the little kids had said, they told he was awful. And they told, because he went back down to the station the next day, and the kids told that mommy did go camping with them and mommy never came back. It's horrible. But it kind of reminds me of this guy and these 3 little kids. But somebody asked me to go over this yesterday, and I was like, yes, it's pretty close. Okay, Janice, yes, go enjoy your company, honey. Please. Thank you, Janice. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, this was in 2009. Yeah, I remember too. It was horrible. It was horrific.
4, 5.
She's documenting now, Joe. She knows
we added these lights.
To her.
Chandelier.
That's what she's doing, documenting.
Chandelier. Josh cleaned that was a birthday present, I think, for me. All right. Hover Storm. You bought a stupid hovercraft remote control toy. Keys and locks. Cooking, cleaning supplies. There's another remote by the Clorox on the right. This is recycling and garbage. There's our washer. Duet, HT, Whirlpool.
I don't know, but I'm going to look that up.
Front loader, and there's the dryer. We got it at the Scratch and at RC Willie's when we first moved here in 2004, like March, April. This is a can organizer that Josh and I made. I had to help him all through the way. He doesn't do projects by himself. More supplies. Little freezer. Josh did have this before me.
Hold on now.
Table saw. Says rigid. We built a table on it. This is Josh's welding machine. He borrowed the cart from the Wades.
Sorry, y'all. I got distracted a minute. No, he unalived both of the kids. He unalived himself and both of the kids. So you'll see that. We'll keep going.
There's the box to the filter. Here's trickle tape. I think it was a couple hundred. Camping supplies. All the cabinet doors. Here is, I think it's a bandsaw. All expensive stuff that we bought. A lot of it got bankrupted. A lot of it got added afterwards. This bike I paid out of my Wells Fargo account. $489 was with the fender. Josh has a old Peugeot right there. That's the red one. Here's the rest of the 3,000 pounds of wheat. So another saw, drill or nail gun or whatever. Here's a sander, brushes, some type of saw, an iron, lights, sanders, drills. I don't know what that thing is. That's a Dremel. Those are cases of something. And tools galore. More tools galore. Our scratch and dent furniture that we got from Mercy Willie's when we moved in the house in 2004, like March, April. This is a $3,000 rocker glider. My parents lent us the money for. We still owe them, I think, $3,000. This bathroom. Josh felt the need to pull the mirror out and cut more holes in the wall. Said he was going to make shelves. That didn't happen. My toiletries, nail polish, makeup. I like to do Mary Kay, but it's expensive, so Josh always cuts me off after a while. Almost forgot. Remember that camera we saw in the box in the garage next to the hovercraft? Here it is. Nikon digital. And obviously what I'm shooting this off says JVC hard disk camcorder micro S HD 30 GB 7 to 37 hours 4 recording modes hybrid Everio Conoco Minolta lens.
Police then searched the campground that Josh had claimed he had taken his sons to the night that Susan presumably disappeared. But there was so much snow there that the search team was unable to properly locate any evidence. They couldn't even get a definite answer as to whether or not Josh was ever there. However, one of the things that Charlie said in his interview about his mom staying at the campgrounds was, quote, where the crystals grow. And that could have been a geode site about 30 minutes away from this area. So while all of this was unfolding, I mean, this case was all over the media. Everybody wanted to know where Susan was. Investigators also learned that Josh had actually told a friend of his that if he ever needed to get rid of a body, he would put it in one of the mine shafts, because then nobody would ever find it. Which I will say, it never ceases to amaze me when people, after the fact, it comes out that they've confided in a friend or a family member of, you know, if I ever wanted to get rid of a body, here's how I would do it. Or if I ever wanted to commit the perfect murder, here's exactly what I would do. It's like, if you're planning to do that, keep it to yourself. You're telling on yourself. You are such a complete and utter moron. So a couple of days after all of this, Josh was supposed to be interviewed by police for a third time. However, instead of being interviewed, he hired Scott Williams, a defense attorney, and he skipped out on meeting with the police entirely. One day after Josh hired that attorney, on Tuesday, December 15th, he was officially identified as a person of interest, but no arrest. So then, 3 days later, Josh headed up to Washington with the two boys so that he could go see his dad, Steve, for Christmas. Now, even though Josh didn't want to come in for another interview, he was having some conversations with the police, and he let them know that he was only going away for the holiday and that he was going to be back soon. Then, as the holiday season ended and it was the beginning of a new year, it was now almost a month since Susan had disappeared. A social media campaign was started on January 4th, 2010 via Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and all of Susan's family and friends were trying to raise awareness about the case, trying to get answers for Susan, trying to figure out where Susan was. Now, the point of the campaign, first and foremost, was of course to find Susan. But it was also to keep her name in the news, to keep her in the headlines so that the story would not fade away. But Josh, he was not at all involved in this campaign. And in fact, many of the people who were in charge of it did not trust Josh's story of innocence. Not at all. Now, at this point, we know that there were some financial issues with them, but at no point did he say that they were separating, that they were on the outs. So if you were trying to portray this loving marriage and there not being any serious issues, why aren't you out searching for your wife? Why aren't you helping campaign for your wife? Why are you detached and removed? It couldn't even make sense if you tried to make it make sense. And throughout the police's investigation, you could also say that Josh just completely checked out of his computer programming job at Aspen Logistics. Not only was he not showing up at all anymore, but he also wasn't letting his manager know that he wasn't going to be coming in. So in the new year, he ended up being fired from that job. And then on January 6th, he and his brother Michael came back from Washington and they started packing up the house. He had decided at this point that the best thing for his family was to move to Washington and live with his dad. He no longer had this reliable source of income to pay his mortgage, which is kind of understandable. Yes, maybe if you can't afford to live there with your kids, you do move in with a parent. But at the same time, it was as if he was completely ruling out the idea of Susan ever coming home. and he was just throwing in the towel on all of the search efforts. More weeks passed, and there was no sign of Susan, and by mid-February, Susan's family was losing hope. They ended up holding a press conference, which they had a spokesperson speak for them, and according to the family, Susan had indicated before she disappeared that if things did not change in the relationship by their wedding anniversary, she had planned on leaving Josh. The spokesperson said, quote, "It was a threat that he repeatedly had made to her, including controlling her use of the car, denying her access to the family finances, even though she's the one who brought in most of the money, repeatedly sabotaging her parenting efforts, and even governing which groceries she could buy." However, one of Susan's friends said that she had been threatening divorce due to Josh not being involved in the church like he had once been. Susan wanted Josh to get back into their LDS religion like he was when they first started dating. And during the press conference, it also came out that Susan's sons now lived just within minutes of Susan's parents now that they were in Washington. But apparently Josh was shutting out her parents completely. He wouldn't allow them to have a relationship with their grandchildren. Meanwhile, the search wasn't necessarily going cold, but not a ton was happening either because detectives were just hitting a bunch of dead ends. And although Josh was the main suspect, they didn't have enough evidence to make an arrest. Mostly because they didn't have a body, they also didn't have a crime scene, and by August of 2010, over $150,000 and nearly 7,000 hours had been put into finding Susan. But even with all of that, Susan was still nowhere to be found. And although it was starting to feel as if all hope was lost, the West Valley City Police told the public that 5 of their detectives were still working full-time on this investigation. But unfortunately, things were about to take another turn. And we are going to get to that as soon as we hear from the final sponsors of today's episode. So it's now been 8 months since Susan disappeared. No solid leads, no evidence, yes, a person of interest, but no real credible tips or anything to go off of. So that fall, little Charlie started kindergarten at Carson Elementary, and he was kind of unlike a lot of the typical kindergarten students. He was considered a little bit of a loner, he didn't act very playful. He was also showing some signs that made his teacher concerned enough to send him to the counselor multiple times. He said things like, "Braden is dead," or he would draw a picture of a gun. And then one day, another student said that Charlie's mom was dead, and Charlie marched over to the student saying his mom wasn't dead, but that she went away because her parents were abusing her. When he calmed down, his teacher asked him if he was okay. And he said, "I feel a little better because I'm really smart, and I can figure out a way for liars like this student to go to jail for 14 years. Which seems like a very oddly specific thing for a 5-year-old boy to say. Charlie also drew extremely disturbing pictures that made Susan's parents almost absolutely certain that he witnessed his mother's death. He also told the counselor that his mom only lived a mile away, but that his grandparents, Susan's parents, were Mormon, and that they abused Susan. Charlie talked a lot about hating Mormons and how Mormons killed Braden and also killed his mom, and eventually Josh started coming into the classroom, and he would just sit there, uninvited, almost as though he was monitoring his son, monitoring everything he was saying. The teacher would ask him to leave, but he wouldn't. It was almost as if he was afraid that Charlie would say something incriminating against him. Josh also gave a letter to the school with names of people who were not allowed to see Charlie. The list included not only Susan's parents, but also Susan herself. Susan's parents also believed that the reason that Josh didn't want the boys to be with them is because he was worried that they might say something, they might slip up. Towards the end of the school year, the Mormon comments never stopped. A boy tried to befriend Charlie at lunch, but Charlie told him that he was going to go to the little boy's house at night and he was going to kill him. When asked why he would say that, why he would say such a thing, he said that he wanted to kill the boy because he's Mormon, and they kill people. They are ordered to kill people and all scientists who believe in Jesus. Again, a very odd and very specific thing to say for a 5-year-old. So a couple of days before the 1-year anniversary of Susan's disappearance, Josh and his dad, Steve, concocted a very crazy story about where they believe Susan was. A story that they ended up publishing on susanpowell.org. Now, SusanPowell.org first seemed like a website that was dedicated to resources, to information, to different search updates about Susan, but then it became clear that this website was acting like nothing more than a mouthpiece for the Powell family, constantly blaming Susan's family for smearing Josh in the press and making him the scapegoat so that nobody would know about the abuse that they were putting their daughter through, which, let me just clarify too, Susan's family never abused her, not in any sort of way. This website claimed that Susan was now in Brazil so that she could start this new life with a man named Steve Koecker. Steve had disappeared a week after Susan did. But the thing was, Susan didn't even know Steve, and neither did anybody else. Literally, the only thing that they had in common is that they were close in age, they were both part of the LDS faith, and they were both missing. That's literally it. Josh's dad even went as far as to say that since Susan had a cosmetology degree, she would have easily been able to disguise herself and also disguise Steve while they were fleeing the country. I mean, talk about a stretch. And this was not the end of his bizarre behavior, not at all. In July of 2011, he went on the Today Show so that he could talk about Susan, and he fueled this narrative of her running off to Brazil with some other guy. He fueled this even more, even though at that point police knew that there wasn't any truth to it. But he said that he had read through 2,000 pages of Susan's journal, the journal that she had kept as a teenager up until she was 20 years old. Now, why and how he had access to her journal is beyond me, but he said, quote, "The journal shows that Susan would have definitely done what we suspect she's done. I don't think that she was abducted, and I obviously don't think that she was murdered. I don't think she committed suicide either. People don't know that there are two distinct sides to Susan. She was an open person, in a sexual way, with the opposite sex." And what made this even sicker was that Steve said that he was planning on publishing her journal online for everybody to see. Her father-in-law, the same creep that had been videoing her, masturbating to her underwear. I mean,
okay, y'all
what
think of
on
this?
earth? This is a
When you see
clear
these
smear
people around
campaign,
here on
right?
YouTube do
So
that.
Josh and his dad
These
had a
people
ton
are
of issues with
sick.
Susan's family. I mean, clearly. The whole SusanPowell.org website was one, the journal ordeal was another one, but the number one issue was the fact that Josh was keeping their grandchildren away for no reason. One time, Josh was at Lowe's, the hardware store, and he was there with the kids, and he ran into Susan's dad, Chuck. Chuck asked if he could give the boys a hug, and Josh spinned the story and said that Chuck mouthed the words, "You're dead." And then Josh went to go see a judge so that he could get a restraining order against him, which was ordered on August 23rd, 2011. It ordered Chuck to stay 500 feet away from the boys' school and for both Josh and Chuck to stay at least 500 feet away from each other. And during all of this, Josh actually had the audacity to sit down with ABC News in August of 2011 to do an interview about the case.
Did you kill your wife?
No.
Their family seemed picture perfect. 2 beautiful children, a home in a peaceful Salt Lake City suburb. But when Susan Powell suddenly vanished in December 2009, all eyes turned to her husband, Josh, who eventually became the only person of interest, according to police.
Did you have anything to do with the disappearance of your wife?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
What is the truth?
People who know me know that I'm a good dad. I work hard. I put my sons first. I was a good husband. I took care of my family.
And I see you're still wearing your wedding band.
Yeah.
And during it, he was asked if he still loved his wife.
You still love her?
Yeah. I guess you could say that I still love her.
The following day, a search warrant was executed for Steve's house. Police had searched the home before, but with Steve there giving consent. Steve was out of town now when they arrived, but Josh was there. And apparently, Josh's brother John was the one that answered the door. And guys, he was completely naked, not wearing any clothes when he answered the door. Nobody was under arrest, but the police ended up taking a ton of items from the house, such as pictures, VHS tapes, computer equipment, and so much more. During this search, they also found all of Steve's journal entries, which, were long and very, very incriminating against his son, Josh. Steve had written in his journal from day one that he believed that Josh was the one involved in Susan's disappearance. At one point, he said, quote, "I doubt Susan is alive, and I doubt Josh's hands are clean." Soon after this search, a 10-day search took place near Topaz Mountain in Utah. People had their hopes up thinking that Susan's body might have been recovered because police were reporting that human remains had been found. But shortly after announcing that, they backtracked, saying that cadaver dogs were alerting them to the scent of human remains. During the search, the investigators then found what they called a shallow grave, and it had close to 100 charred wood chips in it. And they believed that the wood chips were what had the scent of human remains. But again, nothing really came from this search. Then, an arrest finally was made on September 22nd, 2011. But it is not for what you would think. The arrest was for Steve, Josh's dad, and it was regarding 14 counts of voyeurism and also possession of child pornography, which, if you don't know what voyeurism is, its definition is the practice of gaining sexual pleasure from watching others when they're naked or when they're engaged in sexual activity. So basically what he had been doing to Susan, but worse because he had continued this sick behavior on total strangers, and he also had child material. And not only did they find over 2,000 photos to be exact, which is beyond sickening, but they also found photos that were taken using a telephoto lens, photos of his 2 young neighbor girls from a few years ago, who were just 8 and 10 years old in these photos. The girls were inside their home in the bathroom, not fully dressed, and somehow he was able to take these photos from inside his house using this super mega lens. Child welfare officials noted at that time from police reports that pornography was found lying openly all around the house, and that Josh's brother John, quote, runs around the home nude and in a diaper. Now, first of all, John, his brother, is an adult, so your guess is as good as mine for why the hell he goes wearing a diaper around and nothing else and running around, but sounds a little fetishy to me, not to kink shame anybody, but sounds a little bizarre. And also, when police had searched John's room, they found all kinds of weapons and even disturbing drawings of women being by swords. And it gets sicker. There were also nooses hanging in the home. Now, I'm sorry, but even if they're not responsible for Susan's disappearance at this point, the fact that he has drawings of women being by swords, nooses hanging throughout the house, he's running around naked or in a diaper, and remember, he answered the door naked when the police got there to search the house the first time, and then the dad has child. It is just beyond concerning. I mean, truly gross, gross, gross. Now, luckily, at that point, Charlie and Braden were removed from the home altogether, and they were placed into protective custody. But get this, despite Steve literally getting arrested for being a total, complete pervert, also a child predator, and the list goes on, some of his family members were saying to the media that this was all some sort of setup from Susan's family, that all of this was planted there. Then they would even say, even if this were true, the child, it was of girls. So Charlie and Braden weren't really in any danger because they're boys. I mean, what on earth are you even talking about? And luckily, the judge absolutely did not agree. And only a few days later, Susan's parents ended up being awarded custody of the boys, at least temporary custody until Josh was given custody back. And this enraged Josh. He was extremely against the boys living with their grandparents, even saying that he would prefer for them to live in foster care. He didn't really give a reason as to why, other than it would be better for them, but he just did not want the boys going to Susan's parents. However, because of the absolute horrendous and disturbing things found in the Powell home, Josh was ordered to take a psychosexual evaluation, all as part of the judge's order so that Josh could have supervised visits with Charlie and Braden. When the boys had visits with their dad, a social worker was always present. The social worker noted that the boys made some pretty harsh comments about religion, especially regarding Mormons. Charlie told the social worker at one point, "Do you know what I hate? I hate Jesus. He is made up and fake." Both of the boys told the social worker that they heard all of this from, you guessed it, their dad, Josh. Charlie said to the social worker the following day, quote, "Mormons are trying to steal me." He went on to say that the reason that they moved to Utah was because a Mormon was attempting to steal him and take him to the desert. And Charlie's cryptic comments just continued. He said that his grandparents, Susan's parents, were abusing him and Josh. However, the social worker could tell that Charlie was just being spoon-fed all of this information from Josh. All of these lies were coming from his dad, Josh. Susan's dad, Chuck, told the social worker that he and his wife, Judy, were having a really hard time getting Charlie and Braden to bed because they wanted to sleep without any clothing or any underwear on. They would say that their dad would let them walk around naked and that they wanted to go by his rules, which again, it's just a little bit unsettling when you put all of the information into context. And in that same report, Chuck and Judy mentioned that both Charlie and Braden were saying other disturbing sexual comments. Just very sad for these two innocent boys who it seems as though were just completely manipulated by their father and their paternal grandfather. So after SusanPowell.org stopped posting, another very slanderous website was made by yet another crazy Powell family member. This time, it was Josh's brother Michael. The site was all about shaming the West Valley City Police Department and also shaming Susan's parents. Michael felt that his family were the ones being slandered through this whole investigation, and he even stuck up for his dad, Creepy Steve, who was still awaiting trial at this point. He said that one of Josh's sons was being abused by Susan's parents and that they were in danger. And the whole thing was just completely unhinged lies, and luckily the website didn't stay up too long. Then Josh had another custody hearing on February 1st, 2012, but he didn't get the news that he was hoping for. Instead, the judge ordered that he would not regain full custody of his boys until at least July. He was ordered also to do a polygraph test and another psychosexual evaluation test. This was all due to information that had been found on his computer, which was taken during that initial home search back in 2009. Josh was also required to live somewhere other than his dad's house. It had taken years for the police to crack the code on his computer. But when the computer finally was unlocked, what was found was beyond sick and beyond disturbing. There were cartoon pictures of characters from Rugrats, SpongeBob, The Simpsons, Flintstones, and other well-known characters, and they were all engaged in sexual activity, including incest, group sex, and sodomy. The report also said that they found, quote, mother on son, mother on daughter, father on daughter, and family group sex, and that the reviewed images indicate someone's fantasy view of having sex with children. Look, any sort of predator on a child is bad enough. When you bring incest into it, it is like a whole nother sick and twisted level. It is truly grotesque. The psychologist who wrote this report also says that there appears to be a pattern of poor sexual boundaries between the family members. Now, Josh, of course, denied ever going onto that site, which depicted children like that, and he said he had no idea where these images came from. But he did agree to do these evaluations in order to get his sons back full time. So things seemed to be calming down for the boys a little bit, and their life was now beginning to have some semblance of normalcy. But a social worker was required to make regular visits to Susan's parents' house to see how Charlie and Braden were acclimating to the custody arrangement. And on February 3rd, 2012, when the social worker visited, Charlie and Braden, they were thrilled to show off their new room, their new toys, and all of this new extra space. All in all, things seemed to be going pretty well for the boys. Then, 2 days later, Josh was scheduled to have supervised visits with Charlie and Braden. This was on February 5th, 2012. Susan's parents, as I'm sure you can imagine, were less than thrilled about this visit. And the boys had actually told their grandparents that morning that they didn't want to see their dad. But there was nothing that they could do since it was court-ordered. So the social worker drove the boys to Josh's new house. Whether or not Josh actually lived there full-time is another story. Neighbors said that they hardly ever saw Josh's car or any cars there at all. So after the social worker arrived, she got the boys out of the car, and the boys ran to the door. Josh let the boys inside. He told them that he had a surprise for them, but then he shut the door, and he locked it, locking the social worker out. The social worker began banging on the door, but Josh would not let her in. So then she called 911.
Hey, I'm on a supervised visitation for a court-ordered visit, and something really weird has happened. The kids went into the house, and the parent, the biological parent, whose name is Josh Powell, will not let me in the door. What should I do?
What's the address?
It's 8119, and I think it's 89th. I don't know what the address is.
Okay, that's pretty important for me to know.
I'm sorry, I can't. Just a minute. Let me get in my car and see if I can find it. Nothing like this has ever happened before at these visitations, so I'm really shocked. And I could hear one of the kids crying, but he still wouldn't let me in. Okay, it is just a minute. I have it here. You can't find me by GPS?
No.
Oh my God. What good are they?
Okay, it is, I still can't find it. But I think I need help right away. He's on a very short lease with CSHS, and CPS has been involved. And this is the craziest thing. He looked right at me and closed the door. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just waiting to know where you are.
Okay. It's 8119 189th Street, Court East, Puyallup, 98375. And I'd like to pull out of the driveway because I smell gasoline and he won't let me in.
You want to pull out of the driveway because you smell gasoline, but he won't let you...
He won't let me in.
He won't let you out of the driveway?
He won't let me in the house.
Whose house
He's got
is
the
it?
kids in the house and he won't let me in. It's a supervised visit.
I understand. Whose house is it?
Josh Powell.
Okay, so you don't live there, right?
No, I don't. No, I'm contracted to the state to provide supervised visitation.
I see. Okay. And who is there to exercise their visitation?
I am. And the visit is with Josh Powell.
And who
And
supervises?
he is the husband that I supervise.
So you supervise and you're doing the visit?
Yeah,
you
I
supervise yourself?
Is he fucking...
I supervise myself. I'm the supervisor here.
Wait a minute. If it's a supervised visit, you can't supervise yourself. If you're the
I
visitor...
do supervise myself. I'm the supervisor for the supervised visit.
Okay, well, aren't you the one making the visit? Or is there another parent that you're supervising?
No, I'm the one that supervises. I pick up the kids at their grandparents.
Yes. And then who visits with the children?
Point, has he even dispatched anybody out there?
Okay, so you're supposed to be there to supervise Josh Powell's visit with the children.
Yes, that's correct.
And how did...
And he's the husband of missing Susan Powell. This is a high-profile case.
How did he gain access to the children before you got there?
I was one step in back of them.
Okay, so they went into the house and then he locked you out.
Yes, he shut the door right in my face.
All right, now it's clear. Your last name?
My name is Elizabeth Griffin Hall.
Griffin Hall is hyphenated?
Yes.
And what agency are you with?
Foster Care Resource Network. And the kids have been in there by now approximately 10 minutes. And he knows this is a supervised visit. 2. Braden
10
is
minutes.
5.
Already had
Charlie
somebody
is 7.
out there. 10 minutes.
And the dad's last name?
Powell, Powell. L.
2 L's?
How many times has she wrote it?
2 L's at the end of Powell?
Yes.
His first name?
His first name is Josh.
Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Native?
He's white.
Date of birth?
I don't know. He's about 39.
How tall?
5'10", 150 pounds.
Hair color?
Brown.
Did you notice what he was wearing?
No, I didn't notice what he was wearing.
Is he alone then, or is anybody...
I don't know. I couldn't get in the house.
No, idiot. He has a kid.
Are you in a vehicle now or on foot?
I'm in a vehicle. I'm in a Prius, a 2010 Prius.
What color
with the doors locked. But he hasn't opened the door. I rang the doorbell and everything.
What color
I begged him to let me in.
Elizabeth, please listen to my questions. What color is the Toyota Prius?
Gray, dark gray.
And the license number?
I don't know. I can look.
All right, we'll have somebody look for you there.
Okay, how long will it be?
I don't know, ma'am. They have to respond to emergency, life-threatening situations first. The first available deputy.
Well, this could be life-threatening. He went to court on Wednesday, and he didn't get his kids back. And this is really, I'm afraid for their lives.
Okay, has he threatened the lives of the children previously?
I have no idea.
All right, we'll have the first available deputy contact you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ma'am, were you calling about the fire in the 8200 block of 188th Street? Yes, the house. He blew up the house and the kids. He didn't ever leave the house. He just opened the door. The kids were one step ahead of me. They're 5 and 7. They were one step ahead of me, and he slammed the door in my face. And you think he might have done this intentionally? Yes.
Fire, there's a house on fire explosion.
The house just blew up and it's on fire.
Firefighters take just 3 minutes to arrive. At nearly the same time, Powell's sister Alina is also calling 911, terrified. She's just received his final voicemail.
I am not able to live without my sons. I'm sorry to everyone I've hurt. Goodbye.
I'm terrified to drive over. I'm afraid of seeing. I don't want to see it.
It was absolutely devastating. Josh's house exploded. All of the walls of the home were on fire, and the explosion itself was so big that it made the neighbor's house shake. Later that evening, when the smoke went down, the bodies of Charlie, Braden, and Josh were found inside the home. And in a very sick and horrible detail, guys, it makes me sick to my stomach, sorry, a medical examiner determined that Josh had used a hatchet to make, quote, chop-like wounds at the boys' heads and necks. It wasn't that he would just set the house on fire and that would be the cause of death. He used a hatchet on his 2 little boys. However, ultimately, that's not what killed them, because Josh, Braden, and Charlie's causes of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. And when I tell you I hate Josh, guys, every fiber of my being is like tingling right now because I just hate this monster so much. I hope that this perverted, monstrous freak is rotting in hell. I mean, why would he do this? And I am not trying to be crass here, guys, but kill yourself. Take your own life. Leave your innocent children out of all of this. The fact that the social worker said on that 911 call that she could hear the boys crying, it makes my soul die a little bit inside. It truly does. I cannot even imagine what those sweet little boys' last moments were like. And nobody should ever have to think about that. No parent should ever put their children through something like that. The only silver lining in any of this, if there is one to be found, is that the boys are most likely with Susan somewhere now in heaven. Now, I do want to go back to that god-awful police dispatcher. He later said that he felt bad and he regretted his lack of urgency and that he could never forget this, which, let me just say, you know who else can never forget this? The traumatized social worker who was standing outside and watched that house go up in flames. Also, Susan's family, the boys' maternal grandparents. Later on, investigators learned that Josh had actually been planning this whole horrific annihilation of his boys before the boys had even come. Before the boys arrived, he had doused the house with 10 gallons of gasoline. He gave away all of the boys' toys to Goodwill. He made arrangements for any of his financial obligations to be taken care of. And then just 10 minutes before the explosion, he sent an email that said, "I'm not able to live without my sons, and I'm not able to go on anymore. I'm sorry to everyone that I've hurt." So this news was just completely devastating for Susan's family. They were, of course, absolutely heartbroken. Now, because Susan was always a missing person and never declared dead, Josh was never able to get the claim to the life insurance policy that he took out on her. And get this, after Josh's death, his family actually had the freaking nerve to sue to have control of Susan's estate so that they could legally declare her as dead and get the money. And yes, you heard me correctly, guys. They are such sick, twisted monsters. However, Susan's parents countersued, and luckily they were awarded Susan's estate. Steve's trial, Josh's dad, took place in June of 2012, where he was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for the voyeurism charges. Although the jury did find him guilty and convicted him on the child pornography charges, the judge said that the photos weren't considered sexually explicit, so those charges ended up being dismissed. And guys, let me just mention, those photos that weren't deemed sexually explicit were the ones of those little girls in their bathroom getting dressed. How on earth does that equate? But in 2014, the State Court of Appeals reversed the judge's findings regarding the photos, and Steve was convicted in 2015 for child pornography, and he was sentenced to an additional 5 years in prison, which good riddance. However, after just 2 years and good behavior, he was released in 2017. And then 1 year later after his release, he died in the hospital of a heart attack, which, see ya. Not long after that, Michael, Josh's brother, committed suicide. And many people believe that the reason that Michael committed suicide is because he assisted Josh with Susan's murder and that he put her body in the trunk of his car and that he was feeling shame, guilt, all of these emotions. He got rid of that car, but police were able to find it at a junkyard, and cadaver dogs hit the trunk for the smell of human remains. So when the heat was starting to finally turn up on him for his involvement, that led to him committing suicide. I want to be clear, that's just a theory, but some people believe that that was his way out. Some say it was the guilt and the shame, but some think it's because the walls were closing in. So you can come to your own conclusions with that. Susan's parents sued the State Department of Social and Health Services, claiming that the department was negligent with their grandchildren, and that the negligence was partially the reason that the boys died that day. They believed that there should be laws preventing a parent that is suspected of murder from having custody of children. And honestly, I agree. In 2020, they were awarded nearly $98 million. Sadly, today, Susan has still never been found. She was only 28 years old when she was last seen alive. In 2022, bones were found in a Utah mine, but they were discovered to be that of an animal. A pair of pants was also found in that same area, but the DNA that was found on the pants were from a male. A piece of a blouse material and a sock were also found, but they were not submitted. However, Susan's family asked if they could be tested just in case. Susan's dad has said that he thinks that Josh was capable of dismembering Susan and then scattering her remains in various different locations, especially after what he did to his own children. He believes that Josh's brother Michael also acted as an accomplice to Susan's murder. And Susan has now been missing for over 14 years, guys. A memorial was put up in Woodbine Cemetery with an angel on top a marble slab, which reads, Angel of Hope. Susan's parents created the Susan Cox Foundation, whose mission is to help families with a no-cost media consulting service to bring their loved ones home. This case is just beyond tragic and heartbreaking. I mean, to think that Susan was foreshadowing her future before anybody else knew it was going to happen, but she knew that she was in danger. It is so terrifying. And poor Charlie and Braden were taken into the lion's den by someone who was supposed to love them unconditionally. It is absolutely gut-wrenching to think about how if they had ever charged Josh formally with any of this, there's a good chance that Charlie and Braden would still be alive today, that they would still be with their grandparents. There was just never enough to charge Josh. Had they been able to, maybe this outcome would have been very different. And guys, there are so many questions that I still have with this case that I know will likely never be answered. I have read some theories that think that he went back and picked Susan's dead body up from the original location where she was murdered back when he had that rental car and he racked up the 800 miles, then dumped it and moved it to another location. And a lot of people wonder if his dad Steve was involved or how many members of the Powell family in general know what truly happened. I mean, it seems like the people may have had the answers in this case kind of all died with their secrets. But what do you guys think? And if Josh was responsible, which I believe he was, what was the motive? Did he know that Susan had planned on leaving him? Was it in some sort of sick way to protect his dad who was fantasizing about Susan? And what, like, was there some sort of retaliation? Was he jealous? Like, there's so many different twisted angles and elements to this. It's really hard to choose just one singular path. So I'm interested to hear from you what you think the truth is, what you think the motive was, and what really went down here. Now, if you're interested in learning more about this case and doing an even deeper dive, there is...
Okay. So y'all go over and sub up to Law and Crime. She did a fantastic job on that. But no, Michael is still not alive. He unalived himself. Because, see, he was not just his brother. They were like inseparable. And a lot of people think that Michael helped him with Susan or her body, or he definitely knew what happened. And they think that he helped sold the car, but he was in on it, and they think that they were closing in on him, and that might be possibly why he unalived himself. But Michael definitely knew more, and that's my opinion too, along with half of the world that knew about this case. They were all, the dad, the mom, they were all very sick people. Yeah, Eve, I think he definitely helped him. They were thicker than thieves, you know, and that's definitely what I think. Definitely. This case is horrible. This case is horrible. Let me try to get this off of here. Hold on a minute and get this shut down. Get the music off, I mean. But that was wild. Again, they talked about missing 18 hours, talking about pancakes. I am like, what is going on here? Makes you wonder. And then I cannot believe that they were talking about his parents was going to try to go after all that money and everything. What? Like, that's just crazy. Now, Susan Cox Powell's parents are still alive. They're still alive, and they are still trying to, find her, and they still advocate for her, Chuck and Judy Cox. And they have the the Susan Cox Powell Foundation, and they fight for victims of domestic violence. And y'all, you got to remember, that's why we're here, and that's why we fight for these stories, because the world should never forget what happened to Susan and Charlie and Braden, and the same with all of these others that this happens to. Again, I don't care how cold these cases are. I don't care how old they are. And I don't care how new they are. They're all important. All of these victims are important. And they indeed are all victims. I want to say, I know this has been emotional. I know it's been triggering. And, anyone, Susan's family, anyone, to the people who has felt this pain and has been silenced or felt like they have not been heard, we hear you, we see you, and we are not going to stop speaking. We will not stop speaking. And if you or someone you know is in danger, or you need help, or you see red flags, say something. It's better safe than sorry. And this weasel of a deputy, if you come through here, sir, you shouldn't ever have a job in the public or behind a desk trying to get help for anybody ever again. In my opinion, you should have been fired on the spot. And that, sirs, what I call helping their own. When they can't even get out here and help their own find a missing child, per se, in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case. That's what I said. I said it. Sir, you took 8 minutes to call dispatch and 13 minutes for them to get their asses out there. Them children could have been saved. Hell, y'all could have got snipers out there by that time and put him down. Y'all need to get your shit together. I thank y'all, the law enforcement, thank you for putting your lives in danger, but ones like this, you either need to come up with new names, law enforcement, or you need to reinforce your laws. I don't know. Anyway, things like this makes me upset and mad. Again, if you know somebody who's in danger, please, there's help out there. If you see the red flags, don't wait. Thank you for giving me 2.5 hours of your time today. I'll see you again tonight. It may be late, and we will talk about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who is still missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee. Almost 16 months now. Y'all have a great evening, and thank you. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to everybody coming in, and I will see y'all later. Bye. Love you.